I am a nice guy.
Are you?
I thought we had a connection.
Okay. How old am I? What are my hobbies? What's my name? Sorry, maybe that one's too hard.
Hi everyone, I'm Dom Griffin. I'm a film critic and you're watching the Armchair Auteur. This is an ongoing video series I do where we talk about new movies, old movies, screenplay analysis, that sort of thing. So if you like movies and you like film culture and you like to see people pick it apart, please consider subscribing. Today I'm going to be reviewing the film Promising Young Woman, the new Carey Mulligan film that was a humongous smash at Sundance this past year that is finally being released theatrically next week on Christmas Day. Now I was very lucky to get to see Promising Young Woman a couple of weeks ago at a virtual screening, but the film itself is not being released until, like I said, Christmas, so I'm going to kind of do this video in two parts. The first half I'm just going to do sort of most of what I would do for a regular review, but there's a lot of things about the movie that kind of need to be discussed that involve plot specifics, so I'll have a second half that's more spoilery, and I'll put like a warning beforehand because I'm like not a dick. But before I get into it, the TLDR version of this review is essentially that I really liked Promising Young Woman. I think it's one of the best movies of the year. I loved it up until I didn't. I think that the last 20 minutes of the movie really kind of do a disservice to the rest of the film. But we'll get into that later after the spoiler warning and stuff. So, the premise. Carey Mulligan plays Cassie Thomas, a once promising young woman
There it is! There it is!
who dropped out of medical school and now lives with her parents while working at a coffee shop. By night, Cassie is a recreational gender vigilante. She goes out, acts drunk, and traps predatory men looking to take advantage of her. We find this crusade of hers to be motivated by something awful that happened to her late best friend back in college, more details in the spoiler section, and that it consumes her entire life. Cassie has no real drive to find her own happiness, as she feels like the only person who hasn't moved on from this tragedy. But after reconnecting with a guy who had a crush on her back in school, played by comedian Bo Burnham, and at the urging of her dead friend's mother, played by Molly Shannon, Cassie does her best to put her nightly routine to rest, halting the ongoing revenge plot she's began when she hears the man who hurt her friend is getting married, and she attempts to lead a normal life. Brilliantly depicted in a montage set to one of the greatest pop songs of all time, Paris Hilton's Stars Are Blind.
Baby, I'll show you mine.
But a second act reveal sets her back on the path for vengeance, crescendoing in a big and controversial finale. So, Promising Young Woman is, at its best, a really sharp and darkly comic look at rape culture, how pervasive it is, and how damaging and long-lasting its related trauma can be. Writer-director Emerald Fennell, showrunner for the second season of Killing Eve, expertly observes a lot of details of pervasive male shittiness and how society enables such behavior, but does so with a shrewd sense of humor that makes the film biting and savage without ever feeling like being clubbed over the head by the same blunt and obvious ideas. There's like a really great shot in the opening of the movie where Cassie Mulligan's character is going on sort of like a reverse walk of shame. She's walking home and she's eating a big jelly donut, and like there's all these construction worker guys like viciously catcalling her. And the camera just keeps cutting back and forth between these like wide shots of the construction workers and Carey Mulligan, and she's just mugging them, just staring right back at them super casually, to the point that they just get so uncomfortable and like just get like freaked out. And it's like a funny but fucked up scene, and it plays out so calmly, and to me it's like the best distillation of what makes this movie work, which is like Fennell has like a really sharp script and a lot of like pointed, deliberate camera work, and she trusts Mulligan to sort of carry the whole movie on her back because like she's a fantastic actress. This is one of her best performances, probably one of my favorites of the year, and she really does get so much across in these like very important little moments. Because the movie is anchored around Mulligan's performance, it works so well, and the movie's electric neon aesthetic jives well with the needle drop soundtrack of pop so sugary it feels poisonous. It's marketed kind of like Joker, but for like girl bosses, but the movie itself is extremely interesting and entertaining. I spent the entire time loving it, wondering why it seemed to be so divisive among other critics. Then I got to the final act. So this is going to be like the big spoiler part. I'm just going to like spoil a lot of the plot because I can't really discuss what doesn't work about the movie without explaining what happens in the movie. So, the first thing, the background motivation for why Cassie does this is explained to be that her best friend in college was raped by like this piece of shit guy who's played by one of the dudes from Veronica Mars, I forget his name. Anyway, he raped her in college, and like a bunch of people watched, and it was like caught on video, and her friend ended up committing suicide. So her friend like dropped out of college, she dropped out to like kind of take care of her, and then her friend died, and then it's just like this fucked up thing. And everyone else just acts like it's no big deal. So a lot of the movie is sort of her going on what seems like this like deliberate revenge plot to every person who was loosely connected to what happened. But the movie pulls all these punches, so like it sets you up to think all these guys she's taking home and pretending to be drunk. It makes you think she's killing them, but she's like not. She's just like lecturing them and making them feel like shit, which is like funny and like good and should happen, but like really thought she was killing people in this movie. she's not. And each of the different revenge plot things she does to these people from her past, like, is fucked up, but, like, doesn't go quite as far as you think it does. And, like, the implication that it does is pretty disturbing, and it kind of makes you think this is one of those movies that's, like, real sort of provocative and, like, pushing buttons, but, like, it kind of just plays at that. It's still very entertaining, and obviously each of these transgressions that could happen would make it more difficult to continue, like, relating to her throughout the story. But I do at sometimes wish the movie had, like, actually done some of the things that implied that she did. Not because I think they're good things to do, but because I think it would have been a more interesting movie. But anyway, the final act where things kind of fall apart for me. It starts off so good. Throughout the movie, her relationship with Bo Burnham's character is supposed to be sort of like this idyllic bastion of the only part of her life where she's around a guy who's not a piece of shit. Bo Burnham's like funny, he's charming, he's nice, he's like a good guy, all that shit. And the fact that she's able to sort of settle with him is how she's able to sort of put all this other stuff into her past. However, there's a very pivotal scene at the end of the second act where she finally gets her hands on the video of her best friend being raped. And the camera kind of holds on her while she's watching the video, so we don't see it, thank God. But you can hear like people in the background talking and stuff, and then you hear Bo Burnham's incredibly recognizable laugh. And you realize that this guy, the only guy she's met in the entire movie who seems decent, was there when this horrible thing happened to her friend and egged it on and did nothing to stop it. And doesn't even think about that as a thing that happened in her past when he starts dating her. This sets her over the edge. She decides to finally get her final revenge on the guy that did this to her friend. And there's like this big final set piece where she pretends to be a stripper, the bachelor party, you've seen in the trailers. And you're like, okay, cool, she's gonna like fucking murder the shit out of this guy. Like, decent movie, all right. And that's not what happens. The tables turn on her and the dude kills her. Like, you, the audience, have to sit and watch in real time as she is smothered to death. That's how the movie ends. At the end of the movie is this character who watched the entire time dies, and like the guys are gonna get away with it. And you're like, oh, I didn't want to watch that. Then there's like this little postscript thing where like the wedding is happening with the guy and everything, and like she sends out these posthumous text messages, like she's scheduled to go out from her phone, and she sent a bunch of evidence of what the guy did, like so that the guy goes to jail for killing her at his wedding. And it's like, great ending, justice. Except it's not a great ending. It's like really shitty, and I did not like it whatsoever. The reason I didn't like it is that the entire movie has this one kind of tone, and the entire time I feel like they pulled punches where they could have gone further and like cross lines to make the movie more like agitating and stuff, and they didn't. Then at the very end, they pull this big punch of like, haha, we killed the main character. You didn't think we were going to do that, did you? I'm like, I didn't think you were going to do it because it's a fucking horrible way to end this movie. It undoes everything you like about the movie at that point. I understand that Emerald Fennell is probably trying to make a statement about how doomed rape culture is and how like there's just this sense that a woman would have to become some sort of a martyr to get any shred of a sense of justice in this system. And like, I get how that can be like fucked up and like profound or whatever, but it just doesn't play. Like, it just seems like a really doomed, weird version of this story that this woman goes through all this stuff and then like dies. You're supposed to sort of cheer her like last minute revenge that she doesn't even really get because she's fucking dead. Like, it's bad. Like, it left such a sour, horrible taste in my mouth. It made me question everything I liked about the movie up until that point. It derails the entire film. The movie just is chugging, great shit, and then just dead. I don't understand it. Like, I feel like Promising Young Woman is the perfect movie for people who saw Get Out and thought Get Out would be a better movie if the cop showed up at the end instead of Little Rel. And like, yeah, I guess maybe that would be more true to life, would be more like accurate of what would kind of happen, but it's a fucking movie. And I think that sort of ending to this sort of like sensationalized story doesn't have like a sort of artistic, profound ending. It just feels like a cop-out. It's like, hey, I get that along the way we sort of had fun exploiting some certain things for movies entertainment, but I want to bluntly remind you about reality. So, final closing non-spoilery thoughts, if you're back from the spoiler section. I think that Promising Woman is worth seeing. I think so much of the movie is so good that I can sort of almost begin to forgive what I hate about the ending. But it's important to remember, guys, like, a really, really good ending can make even a mediocre movie feel spectacular, because if you close on the right notes, you can make everyone forget all the things they maybe didn't like about it along the way. But you can have a really fantastic movie completely undone by a bad ending. If you fail to stick the landing, people are going to feel it, and that's what they're going to leave the theater, or I don't know, turn their TV off or close their laptop shell. That's what they're going to leave feeling. And it's going to stick with them, and it's going to color everything else. And to me, that's what happened here. Like I said, great performance, really good music, like definitely a very watchable movie. Just falls apart in the end, and in a way that it feels like insulting and like offensive. Also, the movie's like completely like riddled with trigger warnings and things, so like it might not be the kind of movie that you really want to watch. So if you're like hesitant about the movie and like you think it might be not for you, I would maybe just look at the spoiler section of the video because like it really might not be. But if you don't want to see it, it'll be on Christmas Day. What a fantastic movie to release on Christmas. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you have some thoughts about the film if you've seen it or have not seen it, or what have you. You can put those in the comments below. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the little bell icon to get notifications when I put out new videos. And yeah, I hope you guys are being good to each other and yourselves, wearing your masks. See you guys in the next one.